All right, thank you for staying with us. I said it earlier in my introduction that this topic for today is a continuation of what we started yesterday, and that's the place of the rule of law, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the justice system in Nigeria, and how it is being practiced. And of course, we talk about different courts of law, the last hope of the common man, that's what it's called, the court of law in which matters are adjudicated from the very lower level, the magistrate court to the state high court, to the federal high court, the court of appeal, and to the Supreme Court. All of these courts as well, they are a product, of the institution in Nigeria backed up by the law. And so you have many of them as well. One of them is the Sharia court as well. So a few days ago, when that invite went viral, and that was where we started yesterday about the inauguration of a Sharia court in your state by a particular organization, many persons were skeptical to say, please, using their word, please don't bring these around here. And we don't need it because this has been done in the northern part of the country. And many persons will say it possibly for a different set of people there because you might not be able to count 1 to 3 or 1 to 5 or 1 to 10 influential people that have had their matters adjudicated as the Sharia court in the north. Very prominent persons. Most of the time is for those ones who call the ordinary Nigerians, for whatever case. Limbs are being cut off in some cases because of criminal charges and all of those things, harassment. That's even a particular organization called the Moral Police in Kano State. They call them the Hizbah, and they go around, under the guise of these Sharia law and all of it as well. So this suspicion, religious suspicion, in fact, in the extreme case, you might call it paranoia, that we are just unease. The moment somebody is expressing his or her own opinion and is not of your faith, is not of your denomination, is not of your religion, you just feel that person doesn't mean well, or the practice of his or her faith, is inferior to yours, or is against what you believe, and then everybody is just on edge. Why do we have this in Nigeria? But then that is why we have the rule of law. Now, when the rule of law and the practice and the institution of these things is now posing a problem, who do you talk to? We talk to public speaker, social analyst, and of course lawyer who give us the legal angle and expand it a bit to our society. And it's towards information education and harmony, peace in our society. We are being joined by one of such today. He is a public speaker and of course social commentator, and very importantly, he is a lawyer. Ridwan, okay? I don't want to believe it's okay, but I'm sorry about that. Now, the Netherlands man will not sue me for that. Good morning, Mr. Ridwan.
Good morning, Mr. Femi.
Okay, thank you very much. I hope you heard my introductions.
Very well, I did.
Yeah, generally, before we talk about the legal angle, you've, talked on these, especially on your very popular medium, on social media, on X, a range of issues. Some have got backlash, and it's expected as well. Everybody has their opinion. Why do you think we have this religious suspicion? Where is it coming from, really? We now expand it to what the law is saying on all of these. The moment somebody say I'm of religion A, so the religion B automatically becomes inferior to me. The religion B will say, oh, you are practicing the wrong thing, I'm the one doing the right thing, or the practice of your faith is affecting me. So there's that suspicion, and sometimes maybe it's mutual. How did we arrive here?
Okay, so I think issues of suspicion can never be eradicated because Islam preaches that anybody that doesn't believe in Islam is an unbeliever. Christianity preaches that anybody that does not believe in Christ is an unbeliever. So the moment you look at the people on the other side, part of your belief is that they don't believe, and they do not believe in the right thing. So when the other side comes up with something that they think can be beneficial to people of their faith, you suspect you can see how Khan and Muslim organizations, how they trade press releases up and down, and uh, this one says something, the other one counters it. This one says something, the other one counters it. So there's always been that suspicion, and most importantly, with the way each of the religion actually operates, maybe in the workplace, in the community, in the environment, and also some of the news that we see up north uh, on media outlets, religious crises, and all of that. So it's normal for there to be some level of suspicion, and it is how we address those suspicions, the suspicious issues that actually matters at the end of the day. And I think we have not been able to handle that aspect very well.
Has it always been like that? Like that is the way it has always been, or there is a reason why it's now on the rise? Because you will say maybe the older people are the ones that should be having that particular thought, and maybe the younger persons who appears sophisticated, who appears more knowledgeable, who appears more exposed to how things are done all over the world should be going around with a better mentality. But it seems it's worse.
I think the factors that existed in the olden days still exist right now. We have terrorism all over. That's one. Then we also have citizens. But for example, if you check the news report even in Europe, you see people protesting, people causing problems here and there. Issues of terrorism all over. Then you also see religious crises, religious fights that have led to death and the like. So all these things, all these factors have always been there, right from now. And most importantly, both religion, especially Islam and Christianity, preaches that you continue to preach to people to get people into your fold. How do you do that? Is by trying to expand the base of your religion. So if within the community now, they feel that maybe Islam is trying to penetrate into a community, people of that community try to try to open their eyes and see, oh, this is not getting too big. If Christianity is trying to penetrate a particular community dominated by Muslims, they also try to open their eyes and see what's going on. Hope this is not getting too this thing that they are going to dominate us. So that's just the basis of religion generally. The only people that are not constantly like giving us issues are the traditionalists, who mostly and in most circumstances go about their activities without disturbing anyone. Mostly, I'm not saying they also have their own issues, but that has always been the case right from time, and it is continuing this time because the factors are still there.
The factors are still there, and these are some of the things that was made popular again in the last few days, especially on that issue of a particular organization who said they were going to inaugurate a Sharia court in your state, and many persons from that state, many persons from the southwest are saying, please don't do this, because the practice in that other part of the country has not really shown that it has really been helpful. And many words were thrown around, and the governor, Governor Seyi Makinde of the state, has come out to say, whatever been the case, anything that will be against the law, I won't do it. I swore to uphold the law. So whatever the conversation, whatever the narrative that is being, bandied around is, I will only do things that has to do with the law. And it's talking about the governor, about the establishment of Sharia court in your town. People may try, but for us, I swore to uphold our laws and the Constitution of Nigeria. If the actions are within the law, fine. If not, they should expect that I will insist the law must be followed. That followed the now viral flyer shared on X by the Supreme Council for Sharia in Nigeria, Oyo State chapter, when they announced his plans to inaugurate a Sharia court in Oyo town and its environs in January 2025. Now, barrister, let me ask from here at this point, who has the authority of the law to establish a court? Can an organization do that? under any guise?
That's a very good question because I was just going to start from there.
Right.
First of all, an organization cannot pound it around the courts and say they are establishing a court. The best they can establish is a panel. And I believe those who are proposing this also know that it's only the state that can establish a court. So any organization that is trying to establish a court is not doing the right thing. The best they can establish as a Muslim organization is to establish a panel.
So are you, because we had a lawyer yesterday who said something similar to what you say, so it's against the law. No individual, no organization has that, authority to do that. That maybe is a wrong communication thing from that organization. Maybe they wanted something else and they couldn't, miscommunication somewhere. Do you agree? Or there are some persons who just want to rattle the religious harmony that exists in the Southwest or in your state to start with?
Okay, so I think I'll give them the benefit of the doubt.
Please.
Oyo is somewhere I actually grew up in.
Right.
I've never known of the religious crisis. Even though I've not been there like in a few months, but I'm quite. It's a very peaceful environment, and the religious crisis is not really a thing in Oyo. But where I'm going with this is that you have to know that as an organization you cannot establish a court. Any power that you don't have, you should know that you don't have it. So, and when you are saying you are trying to establish a court, the right word to have used is to say you are establishing the panel. So, and because if anybody can just establish a court, that means even myself, even though I'm a lawyer, then I can also establish my court and ask people to start coming. So it doesn't make sense. So that means we have thousands, hundreds of thousands of lawyers in this country. If they decide to say, okay, let me also establish my courts, then we have hundreds of thousands of courts in Nigeria. Not to talk of citizens who can say they also want to establish courts. So an organization cannot come up, just wake up and say they want to establish a court. The best they can establish for their members is a panel. And that panel can never have a binding decision. The best they can have is recommendations. If the people that subject themselves to it says, even after a decision has been made by that such panel, it can never be binding on them. Because it's not a court and it doesn't have the power of law and it doesn't have the enforcement that the normal courts have.
Okay. So from what we've been seeing online, there's been agitations. And then the Araba Abaye, His Eminence Wolabi Awodontu Aworeni, has warned those planning to establish Sharia courts of law in Oyo Town and Yoruba land to retrace their steps. What is this agitation? Is there any underlying factor that we are not seeing as civilians? Why the agitation is so strong against this establishment of this court in the Yoruba land?
Okay. So I think this issue has been this big because of misinformation. Because from what I have seen and what I have read about this particular organization trying to bring up issue of the courts, what they are trying to do is far different from what is happening up north.
Okay.
And by law, there are specific provisions of the Constitution that is backing what they are trying to do. Just that they do not have that power. It is the state government through the State House of Assembly that can establish that. If not them, what the organization should have done is to have gone through the right process, and that is by requesting the state to bring up such courts. And now, if you may permit me, I would like to explain further what a Sharia court does.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Please.
Yes, please.
Okay, so according to Section 277 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, for each state that may desire it, you can have a Sharia court. And that Sharia court will only be available to sit on cases relating to Islamic personal law. Now, Islamic personal law is different from Islamic criminal law. Islamic criminal law is what you will find in the north. Islamic personal law are issues that relate to personal laws of Muslims. For example, we have the Marriage Act that regulates issues of marriage in Nigeria. Because for someone like me who married in accordance to Islamic law, and I married in the Southwest and a state that doesn't have a Sharia court, I had to have a certificate of marriage that carries the name of just an organization. In Nigeria today, if you marry under the Marriage Act, you can actually have a certificate that has the seal of the government. That's if you marry under the Marriage Act in accordance with the Marriage Act in Nigeria. But as a Muslim, you are supposed to marry under the Islamic law, which is recognized by even our constitution. But you cannot have a marriage that has the seal of the government directly, because there is no Sharia court that can issue such certificates. That's number one.
Okay.
Number two, issues of inheritance under Islamic law is governed by the Quran and the Hadith. The problem here is that there are ways in which you share inheritance when someone dies under Islamic law. It is only a Muslim or a court dedicated to Muslims that can be able to help in such circumstances where there is disputes. Right now, if there is dispute, people take it to customary court. Customary court. Don't forget that we have customary courts that attend to maybe traditionalists or people that believe in laws and customs of our people. And then we have the conventional courts. So Muslims are either forced to go to these conventional courts, or they are forced to go to this customary court, where the knowledge of Islamic law is not usually a thing. So someone who doesn't have the knowledge most times get to sit on those cases, and it doesn't mean that they are going to get justice in that circumstance.
Okay.
So issues of marriage, issues of divorce, issues of inheritance, these are issues to be decided by Sharia courts. Not even talking about the criminal aspect of it is not the issue here. The conversation is about the Islamic personal law of Muslims.
Okay.
So, and I think that more work needs to be done to sensitize people as to what this organization is trying to do and what it actually entails. I can explain the criminal aspect of it, but then I think when we have when you give me the floor to do that.
Okay. Based on what you've said so far, you said that the court is basically for personal law, not for criminal law. Is there a possibility that sometime or somewhere in the future, this court is going to be expanded to accumulate or to accommodate the criminal aspect of law?
Thank you. For you to be able to expand the jurisdiction of this court, you will require the House of Assembly of the state to bring up a bill, for someone to sponsor it, and it goes through the legislative process, first reading, second reading, third reading of the House of Assembly, get approved two-thirds of the states or of the State House of Assembly to approve it, and then get the assent of the governor. I do not see in what word in the south, the dynamics in the south is different from that of the north. I do not see anywhere that this is feasible in the southern part of this country, because if you look at the percentage of Muslims to Christians, they are almost basically the same thing. So the problem here is that people are equating Islamic personal law with Islamic criminal law. Islamic criminal law and Islamic personal law are both operative in the north. In the south here, I believe personally the Islamic personal law is sufficient for us right now. I believe so.
So,
because yes, please go ahead.
Okay, but there is a possibility that it could be expanded if all these things you've said are put in place.
Yes, very well. That's the position of the law.
Okay, so do you think this, from the what we read yesterday about youths protesting, talking about causing division in the Yoruba land, do you think this in any way would bring division in Yoruba land?
I think if issues of if people can be properly sensitized as to the need for this Sharia court, I think the tension would actually go down. Because personally, I can tell you as a citizen, personally, if I die today, I can't have a will. I'm not supposed to have one as a Muslim, especially with regards to, okay, this is how each of my items should be shared and what have you. I can only share a percentage, give out a percentage of my properties. But the issue here is that if issues comes up, God forbid, within my family about my inheritance and all of that, there's no court right now to sit on those issues.
Okay.
Because there's no. So these are germane and important issues for Muslims who are also citizens of this country. So I think what we should be looking at are ways to ensure it doesn't go beyond what it is supposed to go beyond, where it is supposed to be. Because you can't just ban something and say no, it cannot happen just because you have problem with a bigger issue, and now you just let some citizens be without some sense of justice.
Okay. Also, you talked about sensitization. How do you think this sensitization can go about to be able to enable people have a better and wider knowledge of this Sharia court?
Okay, so I think generally I would even like to address it from where Governor Seyi Makinde started. I saw the video, and from what he said he's going to enforce whatever the law says. So I think at some point in time we are going to have a Sharia court in Oyo State. A Sharia court dedicated only to Muslims' personal affairs, not to anybody else, and not anything related to criminal law. Because the law actually permits him as a governor and as a state to actually have a Sharia court to adjudicate on such matters. So if he's going to enforce the law, I believe what the governor is saying is that I'm going to bring up a Sharia court, that I'm going to moderate how it is going to be used by law. So now, issues of sensitization have to actually start from there. Number one, we have to all agree and to be able to communicate properly to people that the Constitution provides for this. Any Muslim that is requesting for it is requesting that their right be enforced. That's number one. Number two, we also all have to admit as members or as Muslims or as Christians that there have been past issues which have degenerated into religious war, which have breached our peace. And these issues must be drastically addressed to ensure and bring down the suspicion that both religions have for each other. Number three, tolerance has to be preached between both religions, because both sides cannot say that they have actually tolerated themselves enough. And I give kudos to our people in the Southwest, because they've actually have a very good history of tolerance and living peacefully among each other. But we have to continue in such to do such, because when you just come up, I feel more sensitization ought to have been done before the organization has actually brought up the issue of Sharia panel or Sharia court. Proper communication ought to have been done, and radios and TV stations such as this, you can go on radio and TV stations, sometimes people talk to people about why you need this court and why you desire it and what it will do for you as a citizen of this country. So I think so much work needs to be done in that aspect. And I believe, okay. Also, let me bring up this issue. The issue of Islamic banking. When Islamic banking was to come up, there were several issues. At some point, even Khan issued a press release against Islamic banking. As of today, when you see federal roads being constructed, some of them were gotten from Sukuk bonds. They were constructed using Sukuk bonds. And some of these bonds is that when you borrow from an Islamic bank, you don't get to pay interest in such circumstances. So when you get loan, it is easier for government to get loan from Islamic bank or funded through Islamic banking, because they know that, okay, there won't be interest coming up with regards to this road, and they can easily refund the money and not have to worry about issues pertaining to issue of interest and the likes. Currently, Nigeria, before the current administration, Nigeria was servicing debt with over 90% of our fundings due to interest. So all these issues are things that people need to be sensitized on, because so now when Islamic banking is operating freely, it's not disturbing anybody, it just is doing its business. Jaiz Bank and other banks in the country are functioning quite well, and they are Islamic bank and they're not causing problem for anybody. So I think if the sensitization is properly, and when these banks were to come up, there was so much issue, so much suspicion, so much press release flying up and down, justifying why we shouldn't have Islamic bank. Right now, we've had them for years. There has never been any issue. So I think more sensitization needs to be done in that aspect for us to be able to live peacefully and everybody just go about their business.
Right, and very important part, in fact, the comparison with Islamic banking, granted, to say, you can actually say maybe it's a success right now. And many persons, even governments, are running towards the Islamic banking, to get facilities to undertake projects, and it's obvious and visible that we've made a success of it. So the question many persons will ask is, how about the practice? If Islamic banking can be successful as it stands, what exactly is the problem, the challenge that we have with Sharia law and Sharia courts, actually? Because many persons will say, is it the Sharia law itself, or the fact that Nigerians are always, quite edgy when the topic of religion is brought up? If you can get it right in commercial form, talking about the banking, how come there are still issues, many issues, when we talk about the practice of Sharia law, and there are antecedents to that, many antecedents, and which many persons have been affected, have their life cut short because some persons feel what you have done is against our laws, and even those persons might not be adherents of Islam. But we take all of that in the second leg of the conversation. Barrister, please kindly stay with us. We take this quick break. When we return, we'll look into all of that and more. Stay with us.